Just yesterday, we pulled out our squares, didn't we? Our color tiles. And when we did that, we were measuring a couple different things. We measured how big our devotion book was. We measured how long a sheet of paper is. We also measured how long a ruler is, as well as just a couple of line segments that they had on the sheet of paper for us. Well, today what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be using our ruler. So today for class, it is going to be important that you have your ruler out because today we're going to be taking some time to measure. You also will need to have your lesson worksheet 43 that is in your Wednesday folder. And you can see we have to do some measuring, so that's why you need to make sure that you have your ruler. Yesterday when we were taking a look at these inch tiles while we were on Zoom, we said that we could use those for measuring because each of them is the same length as 1 inch on our ruler. But starting today, what we want to do is we want to actually be taking a look at the ruler and using the ruler to help us to measure. When I look at this ruler, I notice that there's two different sides to the ruler. The one side of the ruler that I have up right now, that is the inches side. That's the side that we're going to be using today. You'll notice that it starts at 0 and it ends at 12. If I turn this ruler this way, this is going to be my centimeter side of my ruler. And this side of the ruler we'll be using later on in the school year. So, centimeter side has many more little lines. It has more numbers on it. The inches side that we want to use today starts at 0 and goes through 12. Okay, so this is the inches side. Now, what are some things when you're at home or when we're at school that you could use a ruler to measure how long it is? Well, we could measure a paper, right? I could measure this paper. I could measure how long my pen is. Okay, go to the nearest inch. I could measure how long my pencil is. I could measure how long my clip is. Not quite an inch, right? And I could go on and on and on and on and on. There are lots of different things that we could measure with our ruler. Well, when I'm measuring with my ruler, I'm going to put the inch side next to the bottom edge of the object or of the line. If I want to measure how long my sticky notes are, I'm going to start with the 0. I'm going to put it right on the table so it's easier for you to see. I'm going to start right at the 0, and I'm going to see how long my sticky notes are. So I start at 0 and I stop wherever the end of my line is. And you can say that the sticky notes are about 3 inches long. Okay, started at 0 at the bottom and I went all the way until I got to the end of my object. Now, when I'm talking about inches, I can write inches a couple different ways. And I'm going to show you that on this sticky note. The first way that I can write it is by actually writing out the word inches. Okay? I can also write it like this with those two lines. That's an abbreviation for inches. And a third way to abbreviate is to put IN with a period. Those are 3 different ways that I can show the word inches. But for now, you're going to be mainly focusing on this word right here, inches. What I would like to do is I would like us to do some practice. So we're going to take this lesson worksheet and we're going to practice. Go ahead, please, and put your name on your paper so that we can practice using our ruler. Now, if you're struggling with the ruler, I am going to ask you to ask an adult to help you to make sure that you're doing this correctly. If you're saying, okay, I'm getting it right, I'm not really feeling like I'm struggling at all, then you just go ahead and keep working. But if you're noticing that you're struggling with the ruler, I'm going to ask that you find an adult in your house just to make sure that you're using your ruler correctly. Okay, remember we're on the inches side. And we are actually going to start right up at the top with line segment EF. When we're starting with our line segments, the 0 is going to go right at this first dot. And I like to put my ruler underneath the line. And my measurements stop at this other dot. So how many inches long is line segment EF? 3 inches. Okay, so you just need to put a 3. Now, I'm very serious when I say I really need you to be practicing this. So if I wait to do my measurement, it's just because I want to make sure that you're getting your practice in, because it's very important that you can do this. Okay? Let's look at line segment CD. I would like you to put your ruler up to line segment CD. Start your measurement at 0 with your line. And then I would like you to straighten it out, and you're stopping where the dot stops. How many inches is line segment CD? 5 inches, right. Okay, now let's turn our paper this way. Turn to the side. I would like you to find out how long line segment KL is. Go ahead, measure line segment KL. All right, now you should have had enough time to do that. I'm going to put my ruler up. I'm going to start at 0, where the dot by the K is, and it's stopping where the dot is on the other side by the L. How many inches is that line segment? 2 inches. Okay. Now there's 3 more line segments that I would like you to go ahead and measure. You go ahead and measure them, and in a second I will bring my ruler out and I will measure them as well. Let's start. If you're not done, if you haven't finished measuring those line segments, pause me please, because I want you to be able to practice it on your own before you see the answer. So let's go ahead and start with line segment GH. The G is where my 0 is going to start, and H tells me where to stop. See my dot there? How many inches is that line segment? 6 inches is correct. Let's look at line segment IJ. I'm going to start at my 0 by the I. I'm going to stop where the J is, where the dot is. How many inches long is that line segment? 4 inches. Now we have one last line segment, please. And it's line segment AB. Start at the 0 with the A and stop at the B. And what does it land on? How many inches long is this line segment? 7 inches. Nice work, friends. Okay, now this is not something that is going to be going away. We're going to be continuing to use rulers, so make sure that you do have that ruler of your own that you can be using very, very regularly. Now, This next part, it asks you to use crayon. So I'm going to ask you to grab out your crayons. You'll need yellow, blue, and red. I'm going to use my markers for the sake of time right now, but I would like you please to use yellow, blue, and red crayon. Yellow, blue, and red crayon. I know this looks a little yellow, a little orange, but I promise it is yellow. And we're actually going to start with the yellow. What we need to do is we need to trace the oblique line segments using a yellow crayon. Remember that oblique line segments are those line segments that are coming on an angle. They're not going straight across, they're not going straight up and down, they're going on an angle. And I noticed two oblique line segments. Did you find them? The first one is line segment CD, isn't it? So make sure that line segment CD is traced over with your crayon. And did you also see this one down here? Did you see GH? Make sure that you take your yellow crayon with GH as well. Okay, now the reason I'm going a little thicker over it is because I didn't use my crayon. And I want you to be able to see those lines nice and bold. But you're just going to trace right over it with your yellow crayon. Then it says, trace the vertical line segments using a blue crayon. Vertical line segment using blue. Vertical are the lines that go straight up and down. So right here, very easily, you can see that this line segment goes straight up and down. So that one needs to be blue. And so does line segment AB. Okay. And then it says trace the horizontal line segments using a red crayon. You can see horizontal goes straight across. And there's two of those as well. Once again, you don't have to go as crazy as I am with my marker here. I just want to be able to make sure that you can see the difference. Okay? Nice work with measuring to the nearest inch today. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to go right ahead into our guided class practice. So for this, you'll need your name and the date. Today's date is November 11th, 2020. We also know this as Veterans Day. Veterans Day is for the people. We celebrate the people and thank the people who served in our military, but are no longer serving there. Okay? You will have a book that you can read, listen to on Veterans Day today. Make sure you have your name on there as well, okay? On Fridays, the children can buy pizza or hot dogs for lunch. Last Friday, 80 children bought pizza and 10 children bought hot dogs. How many children bought lunch last Friday? So we don't only want to know how many children bought pizza. We don't want to know only how many children bought hot dogs. We want to know how many total children bought something for the lunch on that Friday. So what do I need to do? Well, I need to go ahead and write my number sentence out. You'll notice there was no way I was going to be drawing out 80 children and 10 children, right? So that would have been really silly for us. So instead, what we're doing is we're just writing the number sentence in our answer. So how many did we start with? We started with 80. We knew 80 children first. And you told me that we're adding, and how many more children? 10. And can I just leave it like this? 80 children plus 10 children equals, and leave it be? No, that does not complete my number sentence. My number sentence needs what I'm adding, and it needs the total. It needs the sum. It needs the answer. So what's 80 plus 10? What comes right after 80 when you're looking on your 100 numbers chart? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And so then that's also my answer, 90 children. Notice I'm not putting 90 hot dogs, I'm not putting 90 pizzas, because that's not what it asked us. It said how many children bought a lunch. So we need the word children. 80 children plus 10 children equals 90 children. Okay, number 2. It says divide the square in half using a vertical line segment. Okay, so here it got really picky. We can't choose to divide it how we want anymore. We need to do it how they said. Remember that vertical means that it's going straight up and down. Horizontal would be straight across, and oblique is coming in on an angle. So we need vertical. So let's take our square and divide it in half with a vertical line segment. And you're doing your best to make it in half as evenly as you can. Okay, number 2, the second one for number 2. Divide the square in half using a horizontal line segment. That means I'm going to be going straight across, as even as I can. Then the third one says divide the square in half using an oblique line segment. It means I have to go from corner to corner. You could have chosen my corner the way I did it, or you could have gone from the other set of corners. And then we have one more job. It says shade 1/2 of each square. Does it matter which half I shade? No. Do I need to fill it in really nice and dark with my pencil? No, I do not. Do not waste your pencil on coloring super dark. It's not necessary. Okay? Number 3, it says, how much money is 2 dimes and 6 pennies? How much money is 2 dimes and 6 pennies? Remember that I can make my dimes in my penny spot, and then I just put the number underneath. 2 dimes, 6 pennies. And then I have to put a cent sign. So how much money is that? 26 cents. Now this next one is going to try to trick you. So I'm going to tell you, put a D and a P again. It says how much money is 2 pennies and 6 dimes? 2 pennies. The 2 needs to go underneath the penny spot. 6 dimes, the 6 needs to go underneath the D. So how much money is that? 62 cents. Now the last step is we need to circle the one that is more. Which is worth more money? 26 cents or 62 cents? Right, 62 cents is. You need to have the cent sign. Now, for number 4, it wants you to measure the line segment using inches. You won't need to put the label because they did it for you already, but you do need your ruler. Measure the line segment using inches. You're starting at the dot, with your 0, and you're stopping where the other dot for your line segment sits. How many inches is that line segment? 5. 5 inches. Now, number 5 is going to try to trick you. Here's why. It doesn't tell you what the numbers are for the fact family right up front. It doesn't say 2, 5, and 7, for instance. We have to figure out what those missing numbers are. How are we going to do that? Well, I noticed that we have a 3. I noticed that we have an 11. And I also noticed the number 8. Those are the same numbers that I see all over the place in this one. So guess what? Those are the 3 numbers that I'm going to be using. So 3 plus what is 11? I used the 3 and I used the 11. So 3 plus what? 3 plus 8. 8 plus what is 11? Well, we're reversing. 8 plus what is 11? 8 plus 3 is 11. 11 minus something is 3. 11 minus something is 3. We used 11. We used 3. What's left? 8 again. 11 minus 8 is 3. And then what minus 3 is 8? Well, remember that when we're starting out our number sentence in the subtraction, we have to start with our largest number, and that's 11. Okay? Now, this last problem wants you to count by 5s. Count by 5s. So let's go ahead and count by 5s. Remember that when we're counting by 5s, our numbers are always going to end in a 5 or a 0. They won't end in anything else except for a 5 and a 0. All right, let's do it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. Now, do all of our numbers end in a 0 or 5? Yes, they do. So I know that I did it correctly. Okay, on the back side, please make sure that you follow all the directions and all of the rules. Make sure that your name and your date are on your paper. If you need help reading something, please make sure to ask an adult. The backside does not have any ruler work, but it does have you work with dimes and pennies. It's okay to write out the D and the P and put your numbers underneath. That's okay to do. Make sure to follow the directions on how it tells you to divide your circles and then what to do with the rest. Make sure that for your fact family, you're investigating which of the numbers do you see there so that you know exactly which numbers you can use in your number sentence. Okay? And at the end, you're counting by tens. By tens. When you're done with this whole side, please go ahead and make sure that this gets back into your Wednesday folder.